ever thought about what happens when you put two yarns together? If you put two yarns that are the same gauge together, or if you put two yarns together that are not the same gauge, that are different gauges. I'm going to explore that with you in this podcast. I'm Nancy from Black Sheep Knitting here in Needham, Massachusetts. And on the podcast, I like to put something in there that teaches you a little something that you may not have known. So we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. I did first want to say a huge thank you to all those people who came and visited Black Sheep Knitting during the yarn crawl and all the other stores that you went to. There were people who went to all of the shops, and I think they had great experience everywhere they went. I heard wonderful things about other shops, and I recommended shops for people to go to that were within good distance. And I know people who just traveled for 2 days, and I admire you, and we were very thankful for your visit and your business. So I just had a couple things. You may have seen these kits at the yarn crawl, but I wanted to show you that they're still here in the shop. There's a sweater called Graphica by Casapinka, and it's a very easy colorwork sweater because you're only using two yarns. This is my sample, and it's actually a white yarn and then a variegated. And the variegated, of course, makes you look like a genius because they're all these different colors you can see, but it's just the colors in the yarn. So I have these kits online, and I wanted to show you the colorways that we have. We have this one that is very similar to the sample, which has blacks and grays and light grays, dark grays, and white. We have some blue ones. These are in blues and white. And everything you need is in the kit except for the pattern. You'll have to buy the pattern, but there's plenty of yardage in there. Should you run out of the white yarn, there's plenty of the variegated, but if you have an extra large size, you may not have enough of the white, but that you can get, and it'll be in the same dye lot. You can get that here in the shop. Here's another blue, and I think I have one more, but that's also a blue. So I wanted to show you those.
What sizes, Nancy?
The size will fit up to a size 52 chest, I believe. And beyond that, you just need to ask us for more of you'll just need more of the white. You should have plenty of the multi. And you'll have, in the smaller sizes, you might have enough left over for a great hat, something like that. So we had another kit at the yarn crawl, and it's the Elin bandana scarf. And I forgot to mention about the Graphica and this one. These are hand-dyed yarns, hand-dyed by me. The Graphica is a DK weight superwash. This is done in a sport weight, non-superwash, but boy, does it feel like it's the softest merino. And you can just hand wash this in the sink. It's not a big deal. So it's stripes, and they go from larger to smaller to smaller. And it's enough to put on you like this. And I like it being tied like this because I think it's fun to wear this way. But there are other ways. I don't know if I did that well without a mirror. But in any case, this is what it's like. It's very snug. So you can make it snug and warm. With the cool weather coming, this is a great, it's a 2-skein project. And it comes with 2 skeins for one size. So we have that colorway, we have this colorway, and this is a bluish black and white. And we also have this, which is kind of a very tonal, and I don't know what I would call that color. It doesn't have a name, but it's got purples and pinks and magenta. Wisteria, Robin says. In any case, those are some samples of this. So these kits will be online. We sold a lot of them during the crawl. It was very popular. I'm going to take this off so I don't get hot. And then I'll talk to you a little bit about gauge. So I do have it here, right here. And I have my little cheat sheet. So a lot of patterns that are out now, especially, we're very fond of Petite Knits, which is, she's a designer from Denmark, I believe. And she just does wonderful, simple, easy patterns, easy to read patterns, and the styles on them are beautiful. And this is one called No Frills Sweater, which is just a pullover, simple pullover. But in here she puts together a lace weight with a fingering weight. And she's doing that for a couple of reasons, I guess, because she likes what the lace weight is a mohair, what that does to the yarn that she's using. The other one is just a regular, it's a regular fingering weight sock yarn or something, I don't know exactly what, but it adds that halo, it adds softness, and it adds to the gauge. So she's saying that if you put a fingering and a lace together, you will get a DK weight. Now I say DK, and what does that mean to anybody? Well, there's a range there, and everybody's DK is different, but luckily on the pattern she put 21 stitches to the inch. And that's really always, and I've said this before, that's really what you want to go by. It's 21 stitches over 4 inches. And that's what I would go for. Now that can change, and on these patterns, if you want a looser weight, a looser fiber on you, you can use a bigger needle and you'll get a bigger gauge. I put together, if you have a pencil and paper, you might want to just jot this down. A couple things that I looked up. So fingering and lace would equal a DK, which is 5.5, about 5.5 to the inch. But some people call 5 to the inch a DK. So again, you want to look at the actual gauge, the number of stitches over 4 inches. So if you put together a DK and a lace weight, you can get a what people call a worsted or an Aran weight. And that goes anywhere from 5 to 4 stitches to the inch, depending on who you're talking to. But again, if you're looking for a gauge of 4 stitches to the inch, which would be 16 stitches over 4 inches, a DK and a lace put together would be very nice. You can put together a fingering and a fingering, and you can get a DK worsted. Another, and so if you were saying, if I said I was putting 2 fingerings together, which are the same gauge, and this is the formula that I use for anything that is the same gauge, is this. You add the 2 gauges together. So if I said my fingering weight was 7 over 4 inches, so if I'm putting 7 stitches to the inch, 28 stitches over 4 inches. Robin's keeping me honest here, which is a good thing because this gets confusing. So if I added 7 and 7 together, because that's the stitches over 1 inch, that would give me 14. Okay, then I divide it by 3, and what do I get? 12 and a half. So I get 3.5 stitches to the inch, about. Correct me if I'm wrong. Do the math, Robin.
4.2.
So if I divided 14 by 3 to 4.2 something. If you did, let's see,
You're relying on my math. You're in trouble.
But it's you double the 2 weights, So let's say it was 8 over 8 over 1, 8 for 1 inch.
That's 32 for 4.
Yeah, would be 8
Light
stitches.
fingering.
Yeah. So if I added it together
16.
and I divided by 3. So you add those two together. So let's
5 something.
so let's take an easy one.
Not coming out
Okay, wait.
evenly.
Let's do an easy one here, folks. So if I have 4.5 stitches to the inch on a worsted, and I'm putting 2 worsteds together, 4.5 and 4.5 equals 9. If you divide 9 by 3, you'll have 3 stitches to the inch. Robin's making all kinds of faces. Hooray, hooray. But if you put that formula down, it's just double, and this only works this way for yarns of the exact same weight or gauge. So you double them and divide by 3, and that gives you stitches per inch. Okay? So that's a good formula to know. And as I said, so many people are putting 2 yarns together that it's useful to know what you're going to get. Now, the best, of course, rather than relying on what people tell you, is to do a gauge. Just do a swatch yourself. See what happens when you put 2 yarns together. I'm about to embark on a project, a crochet, easy crochet project, and I think people will want to sign up for this one, because you just learn a single crochet and you put anywhere from 3 to 5 yarns together, and you crochet them into a basket. It's a round basket about like this with handles, and I'll show that coming up. But just to wet your whistle on that, and this is a great way to get rid of a lot of stash, and nothing has to match, you don't have to do anything but put colors together. Now you could start with dark colors and get lighter, so on. But it's a great way to use up your stash, and it's a fun thing to see when you put all the colors together what happens. And you use a big fat crochet hook and it goes really fast. So you can learn, all you need to know is a single crochet. So when that comes up, you'll probably want to sign up.
That's a workshop coming up.
That's a workshop coming up. We had something come into the shop today that I had ordered, and Sandisgarn, that you know makes, we sell a lot of the Sandisgarn alpaca silk and the alpaca lina, that's cotton and linen. And they have a sweater that I think we might make into a workshop or a knit along, but nonetheless we're going to make a kit. And does this even have a name? I forgot. Oh, it's called the Frankie sweater. They may even be doing it as a knit along. So I'm going to kit up some packages, some kits for this. And the yarn that we have, and here is where the putting the 2 yarns together comes in handy. They've put together the, we have these gorgeous colors. This is the alpaca silk, and it's put together with the tin silk mohair. So I got these coordinating colors, and when you put these 2 together, your gauge becomes 21 stitches over 4 inches, or 5 1/4. So these are the colorways, and we'll have these kits, I hope, online. This is a beautiful one called Powder Pink with, I think this is also powder pink in the mohair. And the mohair will just make this even softer. This is a yummy yarn. The other nice thing about this is you get this gorgeous alpaca and silk fiber with the mohair, and you can be on a little bit bigger needle, so you don't have to be on a teeny tiny needle. I wouldn't want to knit, I would probably double this if I wanted to knit with it, but I don't think I would knit with this singly and be very happy. It's hard to do. But you put these 2 together, it's lovely. So I have those colorways. I have this one, and this colorway is called Cornflower, this beautiful blue. And we have one more called, this one is called Yellow Brown, Burnt Yellow Brown. And that color I'm particularly fond of. So those will be in the shop and online soon. And I wanted to give you a little bit of a tip today. I'm trying madly to finish up my Alpenglow sweater. This is it so far, and I'm on the first sleeve. I love this pattern, and one of the things that I started doing with this is, and you can buy these, I don't know whether they call them row counters, I'm not sure, but it's not a clicking thing, and it's not a, it's a series of beads or something that shows you how many rows you've done. I've got a tangle here. So rather than, I always lose my clickers and I lose my place. So what I'm doing is on every row, I have to do 8 rows in between the little pattern stitch here, the little, where I used the dyed in the wool. So what I've done is I've attached my little stitch markers, and every time I start a new row, I add a new stitch marker. So I always know what row I'm on. So I'm about to start another row, I just add a stitch marker and I can just count. I don't have to worry about where my row counter is. I don't have to worry, did I stop? Was I on row 2 or was I on row 3? Because I get confused. The other thing I did, and probably a lot of you already do this, is I have to do decreases on the sleeves. So rather than I used to write down and tick off whatever, I stick a stitch marker in the row that I'm doing the increase on. So I've done 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I've done 7 decreases. So, and one thing you can do is put in one on your first row and then count. So say you had to do this, I think these decreases were every other row, I'm not sure, but you could put in a marker, then you could measure, so you wouldn't have to worry about remembering to count. And when you decrease on a sleeve or increase on a sleeve, it does not have to be exactly every 2 rows or every 3 rows. It's just an approximation so that you get this slow, gradual decrease on your sleeve. So don't get excited if you think you missed a row. You can just keep doing it by measurement, not even counting, which is, I find, easy, and I'm always looking for an easy way out. So that's my little tip for today. And I think I had one other thing here. We got some new yarn also from Sandisgarn, and this is a, it's called Baby Wool Lanette, or Lanette, I'm not sure. But it's a fingering weight yarn that you can, it's great for color work if you're doing fingering weights. And what's nice about it is that it is, let me get one out here if I can. So much for being prepared. Sorry folks. I'm sorry for the crinkle. And I'm sorry again, apologize for if you can hear that noise outside. There's steel plates in the street out here. They've been doing work all summer, and we have to listen to that. Cars going over those steel plates all day. Teaches you to be tolerant. So this has 175 meters. And for those of you who, when you see meters on a pattern, make sure you're looking to see whether it's meters or yards. If it's meters, the formula is 1.1 times the meters equals the yards. So you can figure that out. So this has 175 meters, and it's a, you can wash it in the washer on cold, but I wouldn't put it in the dryer. And I don't ever recommend putting, unless you're trying to shrink something, putting yarns in the dryer. It beats them up too much, and it's just not good for it. And it's just as easy to lay it out flat on top of your dryer or wherever and let it dry on its own. So we got lots of beautiful colors. This will be online also soon. This is soft as all get out, but it's great to have a fingering weight yarn that you can get in a small amount. So you don't have to buy, most of our fingering weight yarns come in 350 to 450 yards in a skein. So this way you can buy lots of, you can buy several different ones, and not, particularly if you're doing color work, you don't feel like you have to buy 400 yards. So I guess I've run out of, this is odd things. Just, oh, I had one other quick thing. Over here, some students in my one of my classes were making sweaters there's a woman named Teralyn Morrison who has made a sweater called this is called the Kingston sweater, and there's another one she's made, and it just escaped me for a minute. But this is made in a super bulky, and both of these students, who would not consider themselves advanced by any stretch, not that they're not, they're very competent, good knitters, and they each made their sweater in a week. So if you're looking for we have lots of Rasta, we have big wool, and I think the Mirasol Fulu, that all would be good yarns for this. So I recommend this. It's a very warm sweater, and it's very simple top down. And as testament to these women can tell you, they made them in a week. One woman was busy one whole weekend. She had gone away, so it was only during the week that she knit. And when she came to class, she was on the second sleeve. So I do recommend this as your next project. So I hope everybody has a great week of knitting. I hope you'll subscribe. That helps us if you subscribe. And we have Bob here. Say hi to Bob.
I didn't realize you were.
That's okay.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Bob is our tech guru.
Hi.
And yep, we're filming our weekly podcast, and I'm just saying goodbye.
Okay,
So no, good to see you. So subscribe to our YouTube channel. That helps us a lot. Get your friends to subscribe. Get your husband. Get whoever you can to subscribe. And coming up, we may have a little reward for people who subscribe. So happy knitting, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.